Welcome, fellow wildlife avengers, to the Conservationists Assemble. My name is Jonny Bloxham, but here I am known as my alter ego, Captain Conservation, your friendly neighbourhood animal advocate. I am a former zookeeper with a passion for conservation education and the global efforts for threatened species and habitats around the world. I'm inviting you to join me as we take the fight to our planet's biggest villain and my arch-nemesis, extinction. Whether you're new to animal advocacy or a veteran in wildlife preservation, this is the podcast for you. Each week, I'll be teaming up with Earth's mightiest wildlife heroes to unify the greatest collaboration of conservationists ever known, where we will be discussing our planet's epic species and what is being done to save them. This is the Conservationists Assemble. Will you join the fight? Hello everyone, and thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Conservationists Assemble. How have you all been? I hope you've had a wonderful week. I want to hear all about what experiences with nature or thoughts you've had about wildlife this week. I want to include you all in this podcast, so if you visited a zoo or aquarium this week, snapped a photo or video that you wish to share, or have a story about animals that you want to tell, send them to conservationists@outlook.com or DM us on Instagram and Facebook. I've made it no secret that aside from raising awareness of our planet's threatened species through uniting with amazing conservationists from around the world, that community is an integral part of my hopes and dreams for the Conservationists Assemble, which is why, week in and week out, I ask and offer for every one of you, the amazing listeners, to share your photos, videos, stories, or experiences of wildlife and your time visiting zoos, as well as your thoughts on the podcast to foster a deeper connection and really make this a podcast for everyone. The importance of community is a sentiment that has been reflected by a number of guests on the podcast, such as Andrea Dempsey in Volume 19 on the Diana monkey and Wapka, and more recently in Volumes 32 and 33 with Matt Ford of the Talarak Foundation on the Visayan warty pig, both of whom expressed the importance of working with and including those who live in country for the preservation of wildlife and a desire to have those exact people leading the conservation efforts for those species in the future. Today's episode is exactly an example of Indigenous peoples being at the helm of conservation. Joining me now is Paul Ledonga, founder and executive director of Save the Beisa Oryx Community Trust, which is currently Africa's only Indigenous pastoralist-led conservation network. I hope you enjoy the episode as Paul guides us through a story driven by a unique grassroots alliance of knowledge and expertise. Paul, welcome to the Conservationists Assemble podcast. Thank you for joining me to talk about this very important topic. So how are you?
I'm doing fine. I'm quite fine. Doing well. Yeah, in northern Kenya, it's yellow.
I'm glad to hear you're doing well, and I'm very excited for us to unpack everything that we're going to unpack. But before we get into the Beisa Oryx and the Save the Beisa Oryx Community Trust, can you just introduce yourself to our listeners? Tell them a little bit about yourself, please.
Thank you so much. My names are Paul Edonga. I come from I was born in Isiolo, that is northern parts of Kenya, and I identify myself as an indigenous pastoralist, and I currently I work in a conservation of endangered species. That due to me growing in these arid lands of Kenya, and also with a lot of multi-dimensional challenges that strike this landscape, caused a sporadic loss of this kind of wildlife. That is in terms of poaching, in terms of hunting, and I found myself trying to see how I can be able to contribute towards conservation, and during in around between 2015, 2018, I took a step, an ambitious step to kind of uh, play a role in conservation of an endangered antelope called Beisa Oryx. Since then, we did a small assessment, and then from there, we were supported by all other partners, international partners like ICN and WCN and the rest. We were able to do an assessment, and the ICN red list did an assessment and also enlisted the Beisa Oryx, this antelope, as endangered. Since then, I continued. I started engaging volunteers, the pastoralists called volunteers, as ambassadors, especially within self-help groups. And since then, I've been working with them, and we kind of legally incorporated this kind of an association into a foundation, a trust. And I've been pushing, trying to develop it into a more stronger conservation network within northern Kenya.
Fantastic. Yeah, it's incredibly important, and I think the scope and the transition, or the more we're seeing community-based engagement and the results that they're achieving, is going to make for a very exciting conversation today. But before we get into that, you mentioned that you're working with many species, but specifically the Beisa Oryx that we're here to discuss today. Could you just tell our listeners a little bit about the Beisa Oryx, please?
Thank you so much, Johnny. The Beisa Oryx is one of the special antelopes here in East Africa. I can say in East Africa, and it is one of the antelopes that we can say that is deeply rooted into the social cultural realms of the local communities around here, especially the northern Kenya communities, or the nomads, or the pastoralists. One, because of its nature, the social structure. Two, how it has survived. It has survived within the ecosystem, the drylands, the way the pastoralist has been surviving within. The Oryx Beisa is one magnificent animal that we can say, as much as is connected to the social cultural aspect of the Turkana people, of the Borana people, of the Somali people. In a nutshell, we call it in Kiswahili choroa. It's called in Kiswahili choroa. In the Borana language, it's called sala. But when you come now to the scientific name, which is Beisa, Oryx Beisa, which is distinct within two species. That is the Eastern African oryx, and the infringed ear oryx. But one common thing is that they have long, straight horns, standing face markings. Basically, these markings run all the way from where the beginning of the horns through the face to the north, from both sides. The Beisa also you can easily see it because of the coat, the skin coat. The skin color is a bit we can say is light brown, sort of, meaning that you can easily even spot it especially in these dry lands. Okay, it has also has black line streaks across the nose, as I've said, the forehead, down its cheeks, then going along the belly on both sides. Then you will see some black marks at the limbs. That is the forelegs here, the chest. You will see some markings. Um, it's a very beautiful animal when you look at it, but though the sensitivity that it is, it's one of the sensitive antelopes that you cannot be able to come closer to. In a slight noise, they just run away. That's why you find the Turkana call it a Moran, a warrior. It's one of the warriors among the Turkana people because of its sensitivity, agility, and also the way it is structured. When it stands, it's so beautiful with the long horns, and you'll find that those patterns really make it elegant when it's moving. That's why you find of among the Boranas they associate with fertility. When there are many around in the landscape, they say that fertility will grow is growing up. Um, you'll find that they really play a very complex social tie between the communities and the environment, especially here because as much as they are social culturally rooted to the community's culture, they are also previously when their numbers were really good, they were providing alternative meat to the local communities, especially during the subsistence poaching. But well, the subsistence hunting, we can say subsistence hunting because I think poaching is a bit on a higher side of commercial. But as things were changing, I think the numbers were growing. Were really growing low because of now the contemporary poaching culture that was coming in. One of the things is that their meat is categorized among the best in terms of the sweetness, the amount of protein that can provide. And the funny thing is that during drought period, they can survive very you can say hot periods
Hmm.
by raising their body temperatures to more than 45 degrees, and then they have a certain gland that basically cools their brain during that time. That's why you find that they can be able to survive in very dry, especially the northern sides of the equator. They can survive for a longer period. And in very severe droughts like the 2021 2022 drought that we experienced, we really lost like almost 40 to 40% of the remaining number that was there. But most of the numbers that were lost were, we can say, they were the young calves,
Sure.
the young adult calves. But most of the other bigger ones survived because of they usually tend to eat a poisonous tree called adenas. This
Right.
poisonous tube as a sort of healing effect to their body in terms of surviving starvation and drought periods. And it is so interesting that even during those times, that's why we realized that the reason that's why these areas, these Ngaremara, these Buffalo Springs, Samburu Park, Meru conservation areas, Shaba, and the rest, the reason that's why they are one of the best habitats for this, or one of the only world habitats where you can find these species in bigger numbers is because of this Adenas tree is in plenty in these areas. It is in plenty in these areas, though also it's like the human being started to discover and they want to explore why is this animal eating when during starvation and during drought period they eat this tree and survive.
Mm.
They are also trying to explore slowly by slowly. Going directly to the specifics of this antelope, this majestic antelope. One is a mammal, and we can say it's an herbivorous. It's a grazer. It can survive for a period of around 15 to 20 years. A mature male or a mature female can range between at least 5 to 10 years. The conservation status in terms of ICN, it is critically endangered, especially during this period after being registered as endangered. It kind of lost lost. It's we can say there were no quick responses in terms of conserving this or protecting this animal. The only place that where the conservation actions were going on were at the level of the conservancies, especially Nakuprato Goat Community Conservancy, and you'll find that they were not as such. We cannot say we can say they were not dedicated. The conservation actions were not dedicated to them themselves, but it was a multi-species conservation kind of an action within these conservancies, and you'll find that you could not be specific in terms of the impact. But now in 2021, we when I came around, we pioneered an IUCN SOS initiative that I led within Nakuprat Goat Conservancies and also Shaba Reserve, Buffalo Springs and Samburu, to see how we can be able. We kind of tested some of the actions that were integrated within the Nakuprat Community Conservancies, but specifically for these species. And slowly after the test, that's where Save Beisa Oryx Community Foundation came up after successful pioneering of these actions, and you'll find that but during this time, because of now there was that autonomy of the conservancy, the autonomy of the foundation, not very stringent kind of conservation actions were in place, and we can say regionally it is really we can say it is endangered at the level of ICN, but regionally it's critically endangered because up to date we have not had like very stringent, very practical actions within the ground that are specifically for them. Just to finalize, in terms of weight, if you see the weight of this animal, they range between 150 to around 200 kilograms. That's a male, a big male. Female, you will find them at around 116 to around 200 kilograms too. In terms of height, they stand around 1 meter. We can say 1 meter, 1.5. Some of them 1.5, 1 meter, something like that. And typically, you will find them in a herds of around 20 to around 60 individuals. In the same landscape. That's why you'll find that in our conservation monitoring the population ad sites, you will find that we have categorized them into ads. You'll find there is a Nakuprat herd. You'll find there is a Joyce Camp herd. You'll find there is the airstrip camp. You'll find there is the Shaba camp, the Shaba herd. You'll find there is Naturbe herd, and you'll find these herds are in numbers. You'll find some of them have 55, some of them 20 or 30. But when it came in, it was really difficult because their numbers were very low. You'll find some of these ads have like maybe 15. And when you find an ad as maybe you find 3 or 4 ads have less than 20 individuals, then you should either investigate and see why, because most of the times either they are bachelors, because bachelors sometimes go in herds, or secondly, you'll find that maybe that area, there must be a very, very serious threat that is within that area, but because the habitat is good for them, you'll find that they are forced to be there. They have these, we can say, one other thing unique about them is that the males develop their territories. That's why you find that even now in terms of our monitoring, we kind of give them a niche of a herd or a site. You'll find that they kind of create their own territory within that type herd site, and you'll find that mostly the females will always kind of solidify that male, so to be able to kind of, because I think because of the chances of reproduction, they kind of solidify that territory. They can even fight on behalf of that that male. Um, in terms of, we can say in terms of how they communicate, in terms of how their behaviors, or in terms of their behavior, there's one thing that we are trying to build on the tournament display. It's one of the beautiful things that you can be able to come and watch. Even when John, and when you get time, you'll come and then we go to Nakuprat or the Shaba Hills. You so that you can see the tournament display. It's one of the beautiful, magnificent things that you can ever watch. The way they are running around, especially when they're running around, they're cycling the hard. They move the hard, they synchronize the movement of their arms, that display of the male so that they can win the female. Uh, it's something that we are building in, especially because okay, during this running round, they kind of try to to slow down the ad so that to center the female that they want to they want to reproduce with to center in the middle. Now, during this running up and down and movement, especially the synchronization of the arms, especially the running, the movement, hey, my friend, is one of the things that it's one of the beautiful things that we really think that it's a behavior. During mating period.
That does sound fantastic, and yeah, I'd absolutely love to come out to Kenya and see that one day.
Yeah. And mostly this endangered species it previously was found throughout the northern eastern Africa. That's why you'll hear especially northern Sudan, Ethiopia, and northern Kenya. As their numbers continue dwindling, uh, Johnny, I think it's one of the antelopes that are really faced serious poaching, rapid hunting, and also especially the gaming and the game trophies, especially that has been happening in the 1980s, the late 80s. It is one of the up to date, especially when now things are changing. There is this contemporary wildlife trafficking that is happening. When the conservation of elephants, conservation of other endangered species like the gravy zebra, like the rhino, the lion, when their conservation actions were stringent, when they were like, for example, we have the gravy zebra, we have both actions at the conservation, at the reserves and the parks, and also we have a dedicated organization that is basically saving them. We have the Save the Elephant, who are dedicated on saving the elephants. Now, it happened during the 90s. Uh, the poachers changed their way, their poaching styles. Rather than, because now they have seen that the conservation of elephants and the rest is becoming strict of these trophy animals, they now turned it to Beisa Oryx. When they turn to Beisa Oryx, when you had on top of these meats, that their meat is sweet, their meat is can heal libido, can heighten libidos. Their meat is can heal arthritis. Their meat can also be because of the association with those kind of meats, their numbers really were poached. That's why you find the small scale motorbikes that are growing in numbers around also increased, because these guys can be able now to maneuver within these landscapes, within these bushes. And now you find out these poachers or these international poachers are using now the community members as middlemen. You'll find that now their numbers really grew in terms, no, went down. The population went down in terms of the numbers because of that poaching and that hunting. And in Ethiopia, around Anwer Reserve, we have had some numbers that are really is a hope that are growing. In South Sudan, areas of Narus, we have some freelance that are really also growing. But we cannot be able to establish the exact number. But there's a lady that was doing a small assessment that I'm still following up in Ethiopia around Anwer, that we want really to establish what are their numbers over there. But the ones which were able now to establish, at least we can say approximately accurate numbers, are the ones which are found in Kenya, especially northern Kenya. The areas now where we are working now is Isiolo, Meru, and Samburu conservation areas. And you'll find that their numbers there are now approaching around 2,000, 2,300. They are ranging between there. And you'll find that these numbers are about 70% of the population that is found in Kenya. There are some traces of them that are found in Tana, northern side of Tana River, Savo. There are some traces. And then within the conservancies here, we have also some numbers that are within Lewa. You'll find some Lewa conservancy. You'll find some of them are there. Within Olpajeta, within Borana, within these all other conservancies, you'll find a few numbers. Now you'll find that we can say one of the best habitat that has a conservation population hope is basically now the Isiolo Meru, Samburu conservation areas. We are still also exploring other areas in southern Sudan. We have already established a contact person over there at Narus, who has been giving us numbers between 20 to 26 sightings within a month. And then on the other side of Ethiopia, I'm still waiting for a serious establishment of a framework that we can be able to be getting serious numbers from over there. Now we can say that in terms of their range and in terms of their habitat, globally, it is only the Kenya, Tanzania, and the Ethiopian South Sudan where we can be able to get now these few numbers. And globally now, we are still struggling to eat the 6,000 mark. We are still struggling to eat the 6,000 mark. Although the scientifically, we can say the empirical numbers that have been recorded in various studies, they talk of around 8,000 to 900 globally, but 8,000 to 9,000 numbers. But the real numbers, when we do our unreported kind of calculation of their numbers, you'll find their numbers are really do not go beyond 6,000. You'll find that you'll struggle to reach the 8,000 that is already being specified. However, we have hope in terms of coming up with a very, very robust conservation status. We are working on it. We are working with ICN together with other local organizations. FFI, we are trying to reach them so that we can see how we can be able to synchronize now a global number that we can be able to kind of refer on. Then maybe in terms of population, those are the numbers that I've just mentioned. In terms of breeding, they usually that's another thing. That's another very beautiful thing that we are working on. The female Beisa Oryx, they usually after mating, after the tournament, the courtship tournament that I was telling you, mating, they usually kind of there's a period when they go, they are almost they want to give birth. They usually take leave within the herd. Okay, it's not officially recorded, but it's in most cases. The reason that's why we say they take leave, you will find that during our monitoring, we realized that we cited some sites that were maternities. And these maternities, the reason that's why we are really focused within Nakupra to go to community conservancy is because within those settlements that are there, we have some acacia trees forest that are basically maternity of this Beisa Oryx. What they do, they give birth and they kind of arrange a schedule where each female will come and lactate these calves, because within 2 to 3 weeks or 2 to 4 weeks after birth, that is the time that they start growing their horns, the calves, and that's the time that they can be brought outside to the landscape. But before that, they are hidden together in one nursery, and one of the things that they depend on is their camouflage. When they are immediately born like this, they just get inside, because now the soils around here are almost their color. The dry grass is almost their color. It's very hard to see them. But you'll find that they are, the most unique thing is that you'll find them in one area or one region, and we call it maternities. But sometimes they shift. They shift when they come and they smell around, and they smell maybe something different. The smell of a human being, the smell of other predators. They kind of change the area, the maternity very easily. But one unique thing is that they take care of their cows together. The one or two of them take care of the cows. They kind of lactate them when the other mothers are grazing. And in a nutshell, we can say that in terms of gestation period, it's around 250 days. Just the gestation period, that is the pregnancy. 200 to around 250, 250 to around 259 days, which is basically that's where they are able to give birth. You can easily find them within these landscapes of Isiolo, Samburu, and Meru. I know they are very fast. They run. You cannot be able to come closer. But we have established spotting. We have established what we call spotting, ranger spotting or scout spotting. These spotting are basically where we kind of very early in the morning, the rangers go or the scouts go where they drink water with cameras, and then it is during those times when they are coming to drink, we can be able to observe them. There are so many other actions within our program, especially the ambassadors actions. The ambassadors are spread across all landscapes. We are talking about over 700 members of our self-help groups who are basically also giving us some reports. Some of them have roots within the villages and the settlements. Some will pass during the night. They pass there when they are going to either they are going back to the parks, or they are going to graze. Yeah, maybe I don't know, unless maybe there's something else I've forgotten. But I think in a nutshell, that's an overview of this beautiful animal that we believe that if it's not protected, we might lose them.
Great. I think you've given us a fantastic insight into what the Beisa Oryx are about, but also the cultural significance of this animal coexisting alongside the local communities. And I think it's a very exciting thing to hear about how these people that are deep rooted within the landscape are coexisting and sharing that habitat alongside these animals, and it absolutely then solidifies their role within conserving them going forward. To understand the conservation actions taking place for the Beisa Oryx, we first need to understand how Save the Beisa Oryx Community Trust started. So Paul, can you please tell us about the organisation and how it's developed throughout its existence?
Yeah, thank you so much, John, for that question. As I had said, we ICN SOS African Wildlife Initiative in around 2020 to 2021. After I led the process. Okay, I was involved in the process of the assessment around 2018. With the FFI, NRT, and ICN then, and KWS, Kenya Wildlife Service, with the local community, we were able to do now this assessment after really an uproar from the stakeholders, the conservation stakeholders in northern Kenya, that hey, this animal, we are losing this animal. their numbers are dwindling so fast. The numbers of bushmeat that is being arrested, the numbers of people who are arrested eating their meat, the numbers of the egg, especially the egg, because their egg is really, so many people like their egg because of this, of the long arms. And we kind of uh, I kind of pitched a proposal to ICN after them doing the assessment, and they funded a project at within Nakuprat Goat Community Conservancy in northern Kenya, where we kind of did now a sort of a pioneering a recovery action for these for Beisa Oryx, together with a partnership of FFI, ICN, European Union, together with me and the Conservancy. We pioneered this action for a period of 2 years, that is 2020 to 2021. Then in 2021, we can say 2022, that is the time now the drought heightened. It was really funny that immediately after the end of the pioneering project of ICN, the drought started eating very hard the region. That means their numbers now starting going down because of the death, starvation, and also lack of water. Now it was now in 2022, during after just immediately after this project, the stakeholders within the area, we had a meeting on 17th of May, that is 2022, and we decided, we made a decision, and we said, okay, we need a new mechanism that will specifically focus on how to be able to save Beisa Oryx now, because their numbers now their numbers will go lower because of now this drought. And despite that, there were a lot of uproar from also the local stakeholders that there were also other antelopes that other antelopes, other local antelopes like the Jerenuk, like the Gandas Dik Dik, like the Kax Dik Dik. All of them were really facing rapid hunting and rapid poaching, because we all of us we agreed that and said, okay, this is happening because now these other trophy wildlife like the elephant and the lion and the rest, we have very stringent mechanisms, and now because now antelopes we do not have any mechanism, we really need a mechanism. That's why I took this ambitious step and then formulated the Save Beisa Oryx Community Foundation. And after establishing it, we kind of had an agreement with Nakuprat Goat Community Conservancy, which is basically a we have representative of the local communities through their board members, who basically we co-opted them as our board members, the board members of our new foundation. Then it is from there now we were able to get some funding from I was able to talk to WCN, Wildlife Conservation Network, who basically again funded us, so that now we can specifically now kind of pioneer now the recovery actions that we kind of piloted during the ICN project. And it is during this time that we were able now to kind of now orient our work now within Isiolo, Samburu, Meru conservation areas. And during this time, I designed the foundation as an indigenous-led conservation network of grassroots alliances. By that time, we started with around 12 self-help groups. But it grew slowly by slowly. We have now the first contact of around 48 self-help groups, of pastoralist ambassadors and volunteers, with over 764 members each within those self-help groups. And now this network, we kind of say that, okay, because of the funding situation, the funding environment, it's very hard to penetrate the world of fundraising, resource mobilization. What we said, we will continue working with the conservancies, the local conservancies. And secondly, we will leverage the community volunteerism spirit, where now we kind of established slowly by slowly. I went talking to a few specialists and elites within the landscape, some friends, some family members, some people around the settlements, And I was able to develop, to convene around 10 to 11 experts who we have been working together in a frontier basis to be able to establish a more robust framework. Now, during 2022, the WCN support was able to help us establish our stewardship framework of citizen science, especially, and also doing some small species range evolutionary studies for seeing how we can be able to measure the numbers of this antelope. And also, we established another robust, very comprehensive, collaborative data collection process, which we integrated both our local way of collecting data, that is the sighting and the rest, with the wildlife conservancy monitoring system, together with we have some local organizations that were doing the smart wildlife monitoring. They were using that hub, but that time, because now in terms of technology, the place is still down. We had to continue using the sighting, because it's paper. We're using the paper. That means when you sight, you take the color, the numbers of the ad, something like that. And it was now during that time, the support also, we were able to establish around 13 sites, where now, we were able to pioneer the supplementary feeding, because of now the harshness of the drought. Because of the harshness of the drought, most of these wildlife, or these species, especially the Beisa Oryx, we were losing them in bigger number. We are now to establish those sites where we were dropping. We bought that's grass pasture from Mount Kenya regions, and we were kind of distributing every morning. In 2 weeks' time, not in 1 week, we were distributing once. We distribute in these sites. We kind of spread those grass in those sites so that they come and feed. And for that period of around 6 months, we were able, because the numbers that we were targeting there, we were targeting around 622, who were spread across those 13 sites, from Buffalo Springs Parks, Shaba Reserve, Nakuprata Goat Community Conservancy, Samburu Park, and some parts of Meru Park. And those sites, we were able to recover at least almost 90, you can say 95%, because within the 13 sites, we had around 460 that we were targeting, and we were able to recover around 390 something. And the bigger landscape, when we're talking of around the 600 and something that we are targeting, we were able to recover around 549, which by now has really grown, because in the old landscape we are talking of around 2,000 and something that I mentioned. And slowly by slowly, after doing that, that structuring of the organization, or the Save Beisa Oryx Community Foundation, we structured, and the ambassadors, we were able now to train them, the 364 that we started with. We trained some of them on how to be able to be sighting, and also advocate for conservation of this animal. And then we can say by that time, these all synchronized activities were able, for the first time, to result to around 15% annual increase of the population numbers of these Beisa Oryx. Because by 2022, we moved from 800 sighted individuals to around 900 and something. And then in 2023, it shot. The presence of this new mechanism, the presence of Save Beisa Oryx Community Foundation, we were able to, it shot from 900 to around 1,200 and something. 1,200, the 1,200 numbers are specifically within the corridor, or within those sites that I have mentioned. But when you add now other numbers that we usually receive from other conservancies, that's why it goes around 2,000 and something. And now, we were able now, mid 2023, I established a recovery action strategic plan that we are yet to validate, and also we are yet to employ it into a critical stakeholder review meeting. This is because we have had a lot of challenges in terms of resource gaps, so that we can. But the recovery plan is integrated into our strategic plan. And slowly by slowly, we now started establishing and assembling kind of information. And this information is information not only for Beisa Oryx, but also for other dependent wildlife. Because one thing, Johnny, that we came to realize during the pioneering action is that slowly by slowly, the grazing patterns of wildlife within the protected areas were changing. And the funny thing is that the one of the, we can say, the lead species, wildlife species, is the oryx. You'll find that previously we were talking about 70% of animals are found nowadays outside the protected areas, but slowly but slowly their numbers are eating 80, 90%. Because during droughts, most of them move out of the protected areas, come to settlement areas, near settlement areas where they can be able to find water, where some of them are, some of them come even directly where they found maybe some previously some feeding, especially the sites that we are talking about. If, for example, you go now to those sites, now you will find them there. That's why you find that what we had to do, we kind of started what we call bunching program within those sites. Kind of we protected the grass around that area where we were dropping our feeding. We protected that area so that when during drought period we open, you'll find the grass has grown over there. And slowly by slowly, we were able to integrate our actions now with the national and international organization like the KWS. We started working together, kind of establish a framework, and now slowly by slowly also the conservancy, and I'm not go to community conservancy. Felt like we felt together. We felt like it is good for the foundation to be autonomous, so that because now because of the funding issue, when the conservancy does not have funds, it means that even the program collapses. Now we have to make it autonomous so that we can be able to fundraise, so that we can be able to reach out to more bigger audience, and also support also the conservancy and also other neighboring conservancies. Now, we had a discussion with ICN Red List, where we were able even to share with them some of our reports. One of the things that I can say was an achievement, I was co-opted as one of the members of the ICN Global Species Survival Commission, which basically drew this achievement. And then we were able now, the same Beisa Community Trust, we kind of oriented our work and to ensure that it enhances community collective action towards the conservation of these endangered Beisa Oryx, other threatened antelopes, and also empowering pastoral community livelihood within the northern Kenya. Despite our orientation now within Isiolo community, Isiolo, Meru, and Samburu, we are still targeting even the Wajiri because we have a sort of a satellite reporting point there. Marsabit, we still have also some reporting points where we get some information about, because like Wajir now is one of the growing landscape that is hosting some numbers of Beisa Oryx. And we kind of, I can say, we SBOC now, it's just abbreviation of the foundation, SBOC, Save Beisa Oryx Community Foundation. We envision a connected communities and landscapes, thriving Beisa Oryx and other antelopes, and also restored and maintained dryland acacia forest catchment, who are coexisting with the local prosperous communities. And within that, we have this mission to ensure that these landscapes are not only protected for the sake of the Beisa Oryx or the antelopes, but they also coexist with the local community. That's why we are saying our mission is to empower indigenous pastoralist communities in conserving biodiversity and safeguarding natural ecosystem while advancing climate justice, social equity, sustainable livelihood through inclusive, participatory, and gender-responsive approaches. And this is towards a commitment to promote sustainable practice that benefit both wildlife and communities who are existing together. With that, despite of our mandate as an indigenous pastoral-led organization, we still center the community within conservation and ensure that our focus is still on protecting the endangered species, particularly the critically threatened Beisa Oryx, conserving the dryland ecosystem, especially the acacia forest, because now we are saying that these acacia forests are not only important to the local community, because I think, let me just say something about that. The dryland acacia forest, for decades now, the antelopes, the Beisa Oryx, and the local community have been depending it, we can say, absolutely through livelihoods and also grazing and food. Because you'll find that now, because of the marginalization that I've mentioned previously, these areas are really do not have any infrastructure in terms of development. Poverty levels are very high. During now periods like drought period, you will realize these people, because of lack of food, they will tend to go and cut these trees, especially the acacia, for charcoal burning. They burn charcoal and then they sell them in the small trade markets that are around within these local markets. And now you find that slowly by slowly during the years, charcoal burning as a kind of we can say is changing by slowly, is changing into a very lucrative kind of a business. Even now, big suppliers of charcoal burning, and also the heightening demand of energy within urban centers. Urban centers like Isilo town, like Nanyuki, like Nairobi, and the rest. You'll find that when the demand is high, becoming high, now these big suppliers and the big boys in the market, we call them like that. They come now they use now our local small boys who are now becoming efficient and effective in charcoal burning through the motorbikes that are mentioned. They utilize now these boys because they can be able to evade now the barriers, the police barriers. They can be able to evade the authority very easily with using these motorbikes. And they use these boys now to kind of hunt now in big numbers. Big numbers of trees are being fallen down. We can say huge numbers of charcoal, huge numbers of sacks of charcoal are coming from there to be able to supply now the big market. And now you find that this is depleting the habitat, the homes for these Beisa Oryx. It's depleting this acacia tree that these communities depend during a drought period, because you find these communities, they have some traditional laws, traditional practices of cutting trees. You cannot just go and then when you see a tree around a place, you just cut it and then you burn charcoal burning. When you cut it, you will be employed to you will undergo a very serious process. You'll have to plant a tree there. You'll have to make sure that you water that tree. You'll pay a goat or a cow, and also you might even be taken to court. And you find that they say, okay, during this time, we want you guys, if you want to cut any tree, we want you to cut this section. And now, you can say, luckily enough, in quotes, they will put the prosopis, the acacia prosopis, this very invasive tree. We call it in Kenya madenge. There's an invasive tree that is growing very fast in these areas of ours. Now, as really kind of complemented now the cutting of this, the cutting down of this acacia tree, and now we are saying, okay, rather than cutting trees, this acacia tree that provides our wildlife with pods, because these pods, they eat the pods from this acacia tree, provides our wildlife, our livestock, our animals. They are provided with these pods from this tree. They provide shade. They break wind. They kind of even store. They store water and also attract rain. And they are also in terms of the leaves. Their leaves also provide food for livestock and also animals. Now we tell them, please let's restore land and also cut these acacia prophysis. Uh, we cut them down, or the madenge, we cut them down, and now we use it for charcoal burning. And now, when maybe you have a bigger problem, when we are saying, okay, maybe you want to cut this tree, please let us know why the reasons as why you want to cut that tree down. Because some of them are maybe, so most of them, the elephants maybe sometimes they fell them down, and we ask them, okay, we can permit you to continue using it. But now you find that if we are having now from an estimate of around over 5 million trees within Isiolo Meru Samburu Conservation Area, especially within Isiolo and Meru Conservation Areas, where we were able to establish last year an approximate 2.1 million acacia umbrella trees. When I talk of acacia umbrella trees, these are basically 10 years and above. They are 10 years in age. You'll find that we established around 2.1 were there. But in around mid 90s, we had around 5 million. That's a very in 10 years, in a decade, it's a very crazy go down, or the loss of those trees. You find that slowly by slowly this year we are also struggling to be able to establish a very good number that we can be able to depend on. And you'll find that these numbers, when we are talking of less than 2 million trees, acacia trees, within Isiolo, Samburu, Meru conservation areas, over 1 million square kilometer landscape, over 1 million, you'll find that those are basically like one tree per square kilometer. There are very few trees, and slowly by slowly they are dwindling. They are going down. They are going down. Meaning, very soon we will be losing vegetation for our livestock, for our animals. The pastoralists, the numbers of livestock that they are owning now, they are increasing. When the real food is decreasing, and then we will be losing our Beisa Oryx, which has been acting. In these areas, we have the elephants, we have the lions in this landscape, but specifically in these areas like Nakoprat, Gotu, Garemara, Burat, Oldonyiro, these areas that are within now the catchment of Beisa Oryx. The Beisa Oryx has acted as a trophy animal. It's one of the animals that are even the tourists, the Wazungu or the white people, we call the Wazungus. They come to visit and see. And you find that it generates revenue for the counties, for county governments like Isiolo, like Samburu County. It generates revenue. But now, when we are losing the acacia tree, it means that it corresponds directly to the loss of Beisa Oryx. Because if the landscape will lose the ability to retain water, it means that even the adenas tree, the one which is dependent by Beisa Oryx, we will lose it. Not only the Beisa Oryx, even other dependent wildlife. In the last few days, as I had said, their grazing patterns are changing. And when they come to the settlements, they are followed by other animals, like the elephant, like the generuk, like the other antelopes, and also other animals like the buffalo. You'll find that when the other day, when because last week I was in Shaba, we heard there was one Beisa Oryx that was limping. We had to go and see what was the problem. When we went there, when we were crossing a place, an escarpment called La Torbe, we found we call them the Mr. Lucky ad. The Mr. Lucky ad is one of our ads within Shaba areas and Nakuprat, where we recovered. We recovered Mr. Lucky himself from the poachers and also predators. And also he was able to conquer a territory within that area. And his grew is added to around 15 to 20 females. And now it's like their numbers are splitting also. The ad is also splitting. And we found that within the lava stones, we found Mr. Lucky ad in front with some even elephants are following. There are elephants there, there are buffaloes there. And slowly by slowly, we're establishing that when the Beisa Oryx starts moving within the settlement areas, even the elephants come. Now, where you find that the conflict is not between now the Beisa Oryx and the humans, but also with other animals, the elephants and the rest. And we want to ensure that not only now the Beisa Oryx is safeguarded, but also dependent animals, other threatened animals like the elephant, the African elephant, like the African native antelopes, the dikdika and the rest. And also we want to conserve this dryland ecosystem also for the community. And my friend Johnny, most of the organizations, local organizations or local associations, when they're established, some of the challenges that we are facing is the same challenges that these communities are facing, these local communities are facing. Why? Because of their marginalization, even their systems are marginalized, even their associations are marginalized, even their organizations are marginalized. You'll find that some elite organizations, some conservation organizations, they take advantage of that. They come and they marginalize these local communities. They use their contemporary ways of implementing aid. They implement aid in a very crooked way, in a way that is not inclusive. Conservation fund is not even reaching to the very local people. Now, when we come around, because we advocate for the rights to ensure that these funds come to the people, you find that now these conservation organizations or agencies or other elites will play a role in ensuring that we are beaten down to earth. We do not receive any aid. We do not receive any support. Now you find that what we want to do, we are also saying, we want also to advocate for the rights of these communities. Not only they are, what do you mean by rights? You know, when somebody hears rights, he thinks that is an advocacy for campaign or something like that. No, but we want to communicate, to become the voice of these people, because you'll find that these people, most of them have not gone to school. When their animals are defiled by wildlife, they do not know how to channel their grievances to these conservation organizations. Now you'll find that what they do, they will stay and then later on they retaliate. They start killing these animals. They start poisoning these animals. They start cutting trees because saying, okay, these people are not helping us. They are saying us to protect these things and they are not helping us. And that's exactly one of the areas in our mission. We want to advocate for their rights, we want to voice them, and also, as much as possible, to play a role in empowering their livelihoods. That's why we're saying these indigenous pastoralist communities are very, very, very important within the conservation of these animals, these indigenous species, and also other animals. And basically, Save Beisa Oryx Community Foundation came about because of that. And I can say currently what we are doing, we are doing what we can say now wildlife protection and community patrols, especially through our 15 rangers, community rangers, and the 15 community wildlife forest scouts. We have 15 scouts and 15 rangers that are basically, they partner with our 764 ambassadors in monitoring the Beisa Oryx and also other wildlife. They do the community patrols and community policing, and they collect data. What we have had difficulties of kind of training them on specialized techniques and policies and other procedures. But there's hope in the tunnel. We had a discussion with one of a friend in the US who said that they usually offer training to community rangers and community scouts on conservation, and they hope to schedule something at a time they can come and train our scouts and rangers. And basically, we can say we mobilize these community resources for wildlife protection and anti-poaching activities and habitat preservation. And this is basically in partnership with KWS, in partnership with the county government, in partnership with the national government, in partnership with other stakeholders like the Gravy Zebra Trust, the Waso Lion, and the rest, and also the community conservancies. And also we can say we do environmental and ecosystem conservation. That is basically through nature-based food systems and transformation, restoration of a dryland acacia forest, issue of we can say impactful carbon programming, voicing the voices of those who have not been heard, the ones who are down there in the kraals, who are not benefiting from the carbon credit programs. You'll find that there are so many carbon credit programs that are going on, but when you go down to the ground, you'll find these people, some of them, they don't know even what is that. And you'll find that even the benefit, the way it's being shared, is not shared according to the way the inclusive way. That's why we are saying we want to be part of this. We want these communities to be part of this, so that when we are protecting the drylands, we are playing a big role. When these communities are protecting these acacia trees, they are playing a big role. That's why they need a share of these carbon credit benefits. Lastly, a few other things. We also do education, women and youth empowerment. That's why you will hear within our PICNET. PICNET is a pastoralist, indigenous conservation network. The PICNET is an association of the groups that I have mentioned, the 764 ambassadors. We have around 400 and something women and some youth who have formed their PICNET, where we foster programs like financial systems, where merry-go-rounds, we foster livelihood programs. We give them some loans during our pioneering project. We were able to give them some loans despite the end of the project, but we are still up to date. We are still following up with them where they have reached. We give them technical advisory, and then we have within the PICNET is our conservation leadership program, which involves now the training, the sensitization of the schools. We target around 10 to 11 schools within the landscape, where we visit them. We established champions clubs or wildlife clubs. We have already established in the 10 schools. We every time we go and visit them, we train them. Some of the schools we have started vegetable gardens. In these schools, we have targeted. We have 645 ambassadors, or we can say wildlife clubs. Despite of their movement, when the ones who finish primary school, some of the members usually go. Now what we do usually recoup. We are planning by next year January, we want to do a recoup of all the wildlife clubs. We have what we call the community herders program. Our community herders program is usually done within the conservation areas, where you find that these herders, they migrate to those areas where they can find grass and pasture and water. And usually what we do, we target them. We target those because you'll find that one kraal of these herders, you'll find five families, 5 to 10 families. And these 5 to 10 families are very, very important to the ecosystem around those conservation areas. Why? Because you'll find their homesteads or these kraals are always situated at the middle of the conservation area, or maybe at the gate, at the migration route, where maybe these animals, and some of them, they track even these animals and follow them, because they know that where these animals are going, there must be pasture, there must be water. So you find that they are very important to us. What we usually do, we usually give them food, water. In 2022, 2023, 2024, we were able to provide more than 2 million liters of water to these community others, together with also providing also for other animals, for these other starving animals. And we were able to give relief food we are giving like the flour from maize. We gave around more than 50,000 kilograms since we have started. We have been giving them in families, and other items like cooking oil, sugar, and the rest. And we also accelerate the vulnerable pastoralist community resilience. We also promote social development for conservation, which I've just mentioned, issue of advocacy and ensuring that land length and the rest. And then we are now slowly by slowly getting into early warning systems. That is basically for climate resilience programming and also economic empowerment. That is basically poverty eradication for conservation of these animal. Now you'll find that that is basically a brief kind of sketch of the framework of Save Beisa Oryx Community Foundation. That some of the things within we are slowly by slowly building on. That we believe that when we kind of get support externally and internally, we can be able to improve.
Yeah, I think you've really kind of highlighted how by conserving Beisa Oryx it benefits the communities and the indigenous pastoralists, but also by supporting the local communities and indigenous pastoralists, it in return then supports the Beisa Oryx and other local wildlife, and how kind of they're both just as important as the other. So in terms of talking about external support, how can everyone get involved with supporting the Save the Beisa Oryx community trust?
Now we can say Beisa Oryx is basically we are an open organization, and one of the things that I can say, we are legally incorporated as a foundation trust or a charity trust that basically can be able to be supported by different organizations locally and internationally, and where we are looking, we want to establish, we have already established an open collaborative kind of an action where you can be able to get us in social media and also other website. But in terms of contacts, that's the areas. But in terms of how we can be able to collaborate, we are looking on how if we get people, well wishers, who can be able to support our core conservation activities. Because we have our core conservation activities, additional resources, or they are very critical, especially for our community rangers patrols, data collection systems, community engagement efforts, especially that are very central to our mission. Because as we talk now, I said previously that these rangers, these scouts, these ambassadors work on a volunteer basis. Our 16-man volunteer staff are basically professional. Some of them are professional. Some of them are graduates from high school or no, universities, who are basically, they want to volunteer in these things. You'll find that they do these things out of volunteerism. And what we have been saying, if we collaborate with other organizations, other stakeholders, other partners, we need those support so that we can support these volunteers to continue doing this good job. To date, we are trying also slowly by slowly to get into utilization of these high-level conservation technology hubs. Like already, I've been able to establish a very close relationship with the smart wildlife monitoring apps guys, the Hard Ranger hub, the Global Forest Watch hub, and already we have established kind of, we can say, the safeguards and the protocols, but now the technical training support to be able for these communities to utilize these apps. Those are some of the gaps that we have been lacking, and I know that there are some organizations, there are some people, there are some individuals, there are some people in the world who understand these things and can easily come and train our local communities on these things. We believe that resources to be able to expand our poverty alleviation program they are very important, because if we alleviate these communities from poverty, we are able to kind of build their resilience to drought. We are able to ensure that the community economic initiative around here is centered within conservation. We believe that we can be able to protect and preserve our biodiversity for the future generation too. The other thing is currently we have a lot of challenges in terms of our infrastructure. After our registration, we were able to establish. We were able to. A friend gave us a small office, coordination office in Cielo Town. Now we use that office for coordination, and it's a small one. We do not have like maybe communication gadgets, things like that. We do not have a vehicle, a dedicated vehicle for kind of monitoring and also implementation of these conservation activities. And sometimes we depend on the conservancies who are really very helpful. When we maybe want to run and rush somewhere, we want maybe to do a monitoring exercise, we kind of pull the resources together and then we work together. Other resources, monitoring and patrol resources like the drones, the GPS equipments, the conservation monitoring and the improvement data collection tools and equipments, the rangers uniform. You'll find these things are very simple. They are very even in terms of even pricing, they are very simple. But now because of the situation that we are in, we cannot be able to get them. And you'll find a few people, because you find maybe even only shoes, maybe, or the shirt. You will find that the shirt is less than $5. You'll find that if there's a friend who wants maybe to support in terms of buying uniform, or even donating, because we accept that. And we are establishing slowly by slowly a partnership with the Wildlife Conservation Network and Wildlife Conservation Society, where we can be able to, we would like them to host our direct donation kind of a platform, where they can be able to support us in terms of sharing our information, and also getting donation directly, so that it can reach us. Because maybe in terms of how donations can reach, especially tangible, the items we would not have that capacity. And also we have futuristic dreams. We want to collaborate with funders and also other conservation organizations within what we call our core investment blended financing platform. Our core investment blended financing platform is a platform that integrates three components. The first component is capacity building of Save Beisa Oryx Community Foundation in terms of implementing these actions. The second component is basically targeting now the local pastoral community. More than 5,000, more than 5,000. We are targeting more than 5,000 community members in terms of livelihood activities, and in terms of infrastructure, so that these communities can be able grow up or come up in terms of socio-economic. Because at the end of the day, as I've said previously, some of the activities that we want to employ are entrepreneurship. We have what we call sustainable tourism, and we have what we call indigenous tourism initiatives, where now these communities are able, individuals make beads, individuals make artifacts, traditional artifacts, and these traditional artifacts are basically they sell them within these conservation areas. And you find now at the end of the day, these conservation areas, as we are talking about, when these visitors come, it is these communities who are basically sometimes serve them even in these tourism facilities. Now you find that we are trying to ensure that this comprehensive program, can be able to help. The co-investment blended financing program is just an ambitious framework that we have we previously established with WCN and WCS, and kind of is a long-term investment program where we want to support the establishment of some hotels within these conservancies and also the conservation areas and the parks. We want to capacity build now Beisa Oryx Community Foundation by building what we call a coordination community office. It's sort of an office, but we want to integrate to ensure that it has a civilian training center, where we are training these communities as rangers and scouts. We want to have a sort of our offices now for coordination of the ambassadors, scouts, and rangers. We want to have now like the quotas for our staff and also for the rangers and the scouts. We want within there to have a communication room where we can be able to coordinate the information that's coming from the ambassadors and the scouts, the conservancies rangers, the parks rangers, and also other community members who are bringing the information. And we want to have this a center as a center that will coordinate that information and also have regional coordination and analysis and consolidation of this information. And basically within the same framework, we want to see how we can be able to expand now the program, because slowly by slowly the Kenya government also is embracing single species conservation that can be able to benefit other species and benefit also the community. Because you'll find that when we focus on a recovery action, the recovery action builds more into single species, which can be able to be translated to other. You'll find that this translates a single species conservation process can get into dependent support and also local community support. Having multi-species, when you're having multi-species conservation or recovery action, it tends to an extent that it will happen to what happened to us. What happened to us is that when we were doing this together with the Nakuprato Goat Community Conservancy, their focus was on multi-species, and our focus was on Beisa Oryx. We couldn't meet. Our point couldn't meet because you'll find that the conservancy, his mission is on a bigger scale of a multi-species, and our mission is on these species. You find that they will prefer just to run that program, but to leave this one, the single species first, so that they can continue. You find now, even in terms of resource allocation and the rest, even in terms of support from outside, it becomes very hard to specify the area of support you can be able to support this organization or this multi-species. Now you find that we want to see that framework is scaled up to Ethiopia, is scaled up to Southern Sudan, is scaled up to East Africa, not only in terms of even the species himself, but within this dream that I've always had. I've always had this dream of, we really want to bring this campaign back, the campaign of saving the species of high importance to the local communities and to the local ecosystem. These species of high importance are species that contribute directly to the food, to that plate at the table. The species that contribute directly to revenue of supporting maybe the poor ones. The high species of importance are like the acacia tree now to these local communities, the Turkana, the Borana, the Samburu, where you find that they utilize it, they can be able to utilize it for charcoal burning. Beisa Oryx can provide alternative meat or game meat for these communities. And that is where now we are focusing. Those are far-fetched, kind of far ambitious dreams of Save Beisa Oryx Community Foundation. And you'll find that in a nutshell, I can say that that's where Save Beisa Oryx Community Trust came from, where we are going in a nutshell. But I will be sharing with you later some small other information to be able to share with our audience.
Yeah, I think you've done a really excellent job on just highlighting everything that the Save the Beisa Oryx Community Trust is all about. And yeah, I look forward to you providing that information to share with our listeners. So, Paul, yeah, thank you for your time today. It's been an absolute pleasure to listen to like I said earlier, everything that the Beisa Oryx means to the local community and everything that the community are doing for their future. So yeah, look forward to seeing what the rest of your achievements look like going forward and following your work. And yeah, hopefully we'll see some more successes going forward.
Yeah, yeah. Johnny. I can say this is beautiful. This is very beautiful. I can tell you, we have been struggling to reach out even to people who can be able to just give the world our story in a small scale.
Hmm.
And I'm telling you, reaching out was like it is a miracle. It's a miracle to us, especially we are from the most rural parts of Kenya. We are reaching even out to people like you, to other people who can be able to volunteer in helping us in a small way. It's very hard. And
Hmm.
there's a lot of stories that we can be able to share. There's a lot of impact. There's a lot of achievement that's going on that we can be able to share. And I trust that maybe this episode will not be the last. We hope maybe we can be able to organize something else later.
Well, folks, what a pleasure it was to be able to listen to Paul. If you're interested in learning more, you should definitely check out the Save the Beisa Oryx Community Trust website. I've provided the link in the show notes. And if you are interested in getting involved for the species and for the mission of the Trust, be that supporting their plans for sustainable tourism or the construction of a community sanctuary for endangered species, please do reach out to Paul. Of course, a huge shout out to you, my fellow wildlife avengers, for tuning in. If you have enjoyed this volume of the podcast and wish to join the fight, please follow, subscribe and rate the podcast wherever you stream from. Please also follow on social media to stay up to date with the podcast's latest developments and share with your family, friends and colleagues to help stack the odds in conservation's favour. Don't forget you can join the fight by joining the conversation. Share your thoughts and suggestions on this episode, past episodes or future episodes via email at conservationists@outlook.com or Instagram at conservationists@assemblepod. I am biased. I have got to say that Beisa Oryx are every bit as stunning as Paul described them to be. I have been very fortunate to work with a couple of Beisa Oryx in my time as a zookeeper, and I'll be sure to share some photos of them on the podcast's Instagram page. If you have been fortunate to see the Beisa Oryx, I would love to see and share your pictures too. Be sure to tune in to next week's fantastic episode. Until then, this is Captain Conservation signing off, over and out.